like to welcome everybody here tonight. Tonight's IES meeting, Tuesday the 11th of October 2022. Just like to start with the statement of acknowledgement. Would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Now, you would do a roll call. Oh, that's fine. We've got roll call. Looks like everyone's here bar two. We've got two apologies. Councillor Nathan Shanks and Councillor Kelvin Goldstone are both apologies. Have we got any motions to grant leave of absence? No. And we've got no leave of absence and no non-attendance. Public open forum. We haven't got anybody in the forum to be public. Public for forum. Yep. Any declarations of interest tonight for any matters? Councillor Hughes.
Just in 7.5, yeah, it's just a perceived interest, so I'll go through that at that time.
Okay, yep, fantastic. Any other declarations of interest? No, we'll do the confirmation of minutes. The Infrastructure and Environment Service Committee meeting on the 9th of August 2022. Mayor Redmond, and who'd like to? Councillor Davies. Any discussion? Okay, put that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Special Infrastructure and Environment Services Committee meeting 12th September 2022. Councillor Hughes. Anybody like to second that? Mayor Redmond. Oh, sorry. Councillor Valongo. Good. Any discussion? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, business arising from the minutes. I'll take it as read. Now, any questions? Mayor Redmond.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm on page 4 and I'm asking a question around Steep Creek Lines management. This goes back to 2014. It's now 2022, which is 8 years. When's it going to come back, or is it never going to come back?
Someone like to take that on notice or give an answer? Okay, you'll take it on notice. Okay, thank you. Any other issues? Councillor Sample, Brian? Yep.
Chairman Paul, on the there to do with the Barossa tourism train proposal, is there any update?
Yep, where's that exact? What page is that on? 7? Yep, I'll get to that. Yep. Okay, anybody like to comment on that? Yep, Mayor Redmond, Karen.
My understanding is now that the new government is in, there will be a feasibility study being done. That was an election promise by the local member, and my understanding is that will proceed. So a feasibility study on the merits of a tourist train, and I don't believe, I haven't seen any correspondence for a future working party group meeting, so I'm assuming the feasibility study is happening because that was an election promise.
Thank you. Any other questions? Cody?
So where is the soil investigation going to? Is that coming to the next council, the Little Paxton?
Is that an item here, or is that a question? Question without notice later on?
Well, I guess it's not on here, which is I guess why I'm.
We might have that as a question without notice later on. Yep. Any other questions? Yep, Karen. Yep.
I'm on page 5, the Williston Cemetery Conservation and Management Plan. It's still a draft. It has never, ever come back. This was in 2016, which is now 6 years ago. Will it ever come back to be endorsed? Thank you.
Anybody like to comment on that? Yep. Wendy? Yep. There we go.
So through you, Councillor Kosh, So we have had a meeting recently about the Williston Cemetery Management Plan, and it was acknowledged at that meeting, given there were a lot of new staff at that one, that it had never been formally been endorsed. There is a process that we've been working on to come to a way to actually have it reviewed, because now it's going to effectively need an update and then to have it put through for a formal approval or / endorsement. I can't confirm the timeframe, but we have, as a group of new staff, been talking about that matter.
Thank you. Yep, another question, yep.
So will we wait another 6 years, or will it be 6 years before we get it back? Next council, which is 4 years. So, okay.
Don, as has been indicated by Wendy, and we should see something early in the new year. That'd be the goal.
Any other questions? Brian?
Thank you, Chairman Paul. I've actually got two.
Yep.
One, fantastic report here. So thick, full ream of paper, that's great. About the dog park. And I've had so many in my out there talking to people. People are saying to me, do you realise that just about every other area uses the dog park, and hardly much of a chance for ratepayers of Gawler to pay for it? In all of this report, there's no, what does it cost to actually operate that dog park? Because there is talk about extending it, I believe. And also the users of the park. Has there ever been an actual survey or anything to do with that? That's number one question, please.
Is this a question for when we get down to that item? Yeah, we're actually going to get to that item later on, Brian. Yeah, we'll wait till we get to that, because we'll have a report on it, and yep.
13, I happen to notice now there's a for sale sign on the old building down the street here, what do they call it? Where Target and that is. And I've brought it up many, many times. There's 265 car parks that still don't get used. I went down there this afternoon just to check on it, and still no one uses it upstairs there at the 3-storey car park. And we are now looking into the point of, town centre car parking and stuff like that. Is now the time to actually look at maybe the reason of leasing or whatever. I know we can't make no decisions at this particular point in time, but maybe that our staff can have a look and check on this, because I've never ever heard back from anybody to do with why people aren't using it. And for anybody that doesn't know it, please take time to go and have a look at it, because it's a fantastic car park. And you could run go-karts around there all day and not hit anybody. Even Jimmy Villalonga doesn't park there.
Andrew, you want to comment? Yeah.
It's car park, are you? You're referring to the Phoenix? Okay. Yeah. The answer to that question at the moment is that council has gone through 2 rounds of exhibition and comment on the parking strategy. We're finalising that parking strategy to come back to council probably in the next 2 months, I would say. I mean, that will give the work plan and a prioritisation, but the idea that we would perhaps put a deck car park or acquire or lease the car park, that could be considered by council if there's a view that should happen. I think the conclusion in the strategy is that the demand's probably more in the central area and the northern area on Murray Street rather than the southern area, which is where Phoenix is. I think the Phoenix car park links back to the broader issue about how that development functions in terms of how it connects into Murray Street. Having said that, that's a matter we can discuss when it comes back to council shortly.
Yep. You need to press the button.
Sold, well, maybe completely, you may not have the door open. It's the only reason for raising the.
Thank you. And any other questions regarding the minutes? Okay. Right, we'll move on now into our items, decision reports. Reports. Now, I've had a request made to bring item 7.5 forward. Okay. Yeah, well, it's a decision of, the committee whether they want to bring it forward or not. Okay, that's fine. We'll just move through it then. That's fine. Yep. Okay, item 7.1, Concordia Structure Plan. Yep,
Chair,
okay.
if I can speak to it.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think this is a really important step forward. Plus, or planning and land use services, which is a part of state government, will be preparing a structure plan for Concordia. So I think this is a big step forward. I think it's really important that council is represented on the project team for the structure plan. I think that's a big win for this council. We've been advocating for quite some time to be included. When we had a meeting with the commission, the Planning Commission, they promised us that they would endeavour to include us as the town of Paula in this work, and that has occurred. So I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for their delivering on their promise, which is really, really important. So yeah, this is mainly just a noting report, but I think it's a really good step forward. Thank you.
Looking for a seconder. Paul, you want to speak to it? No. Any questions? Diane?
Yes, I was really disappointed when reading this, that Sunnydale Avenue is back on the agenda.
Me too.
15 years we've been talking about this, how unsuitable Sunnydale Avenue is, especially coming from Concordia with the S-bend there. And also when you get up to Carlton Road, not so much coming from Sunnydale onto Carlton Road, but the other way around, because when you're coming up the hill from the east, you're coming west, Sunnydale's almost like a blind spot there. So that's really dangerous as well. I thought we had agreed on Cheek Avenue, because Cheek Avenue is there's a road reserve at the end of Cheek Avenue on the south, and that was going to be extended. And yes, I'm just really disappointed that Sunnydale's back on the agenda.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if there's any way we can put a fourth note in here to say that I don't know the wording, but that they re-look at Cheek Avenue. So.
Yep. Andrew, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you to the chair. The only thing I would say is there's no proposal by Concordia to look at Sunnydale Avenue. I was simply indicating a north-south linkage in that vicinity. I wasn't suggesting it had to be Sunnydale Avenue. More that there's needs to be connection from Gawler functionally north-south in that vicinity, whether that be Cheek or another street. That's the detail we'll work through. So it wasn't intended to alarm councillors or to suggest it was definitely going to be there. It was just, we need to look at linkages, whether it be bicycle linkages, road linkages, or rail linkages. And it shouldn't be taken literally, it's going to be Sunnydale. I probably shouldn't have put it on there. It was simply indicating we need to connect up the existing road grid into Concordia.
David, you've got some questions?
Not-
You will. I'll wait till they have questions, and then you might want to do an amendment and then talk to it. Oh, no, but I was going to ask, get the other questions, and then see if there's anything else we need to amend as well. Yeah.
I haven't got any questions, so do you want to deal with that matter now?
Well, what was your comment, though, David?
I was going to speak to the matter, that's all.
Okay. Well, do you want to move your amendment? That way we can discuss that as well. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Through the chair, given that all we're basically indicating in this report that there is a structure plan being prepared and that there's a 2-year window of work to do, which will look at transport amongst other infrastructure, that it would be difficult to be specific about a particular road, given we haven't done any of the work that's required to look at road connectivity, and there'll be further reports to council anyway. So it'd look a bit odd, I think, putting a recommendation 4 in here saying, and by the way, don't use Sunnydale. I'm not saying that's an unreasonable position to take, but I think it wouldn't fit necessarily into the resolution easily, that's all. Well, I can put that in if you want.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Yeah, you need to press your button, yep. Yes. you can.
Seek leave to speak again.
because it's going to be an amendment.
Do I have leave? So I recall, and I know Di and Scott were very active in this space for many years in regard to Sunnydale Avenue. And it was our understanding over, I think, nearly 2 council terms that Sunnydale Avenue was off the table. So I think that's my recollection. So I'm happy to test the waters and put that, I just need some advice on some wording. Yeah, sorry. And I think it is, because there has been a lot of discussion in the past about Sunnydale. It is a tricky corner, and it just would be a disaster in my view. I think Cheek Avenue has a much more direct, it's much wider, it's much straighter, and you've also got a clear connection through to the Gawler East Link Road. That road reserve exists there. So, and my understanding was there was going to be signalisation at Cheek Avenue and Carlton Road.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, plus there's already a provision on the link road for the connection.
Yeah.
It's already been built in.
Yeah. So
I was surprised as well when I read that.
Yeah. So look, I think we need to keep it broad and flexible.
Yeah. It's just that when if you look on page 20 of 61, it actually does look like it's Sunnydale Avenue. Yeah.
It would be on the lines of point 4, confirm that any key road linkages from Gawler into Concordia avoid Sunnydale Avenue.
Yes, yeah, because
That's pretty direct.
Yeah.
Is that what you want, or do you want me to alter that? Road linkages from Gawler into Concordia avoid Sunnydale Avenue.
Yeah, leave to speak again. You said, yeah.
I'd be more inclined to say concentrate on Cheek Avenue rather than don't use Sunnydale. I always think you get further if you give it a positive spin rather than a negative one. So if you say don't do something, you're better off saying let's do something rather than don't.
Yeah. Happy with that, Paul? Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. Yeah, excellent. That's David, you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm happy to support the motion and agree that Cheek Avenue is a lot wider. The only issue is that there needs to be a bridge upgrade where Cheek meets goes into Concordia development. That's an old railway, or it's actually a wooden bridge sort of structure. It's pretty
Today.
Yeah. So that would be the upgrade. But I was also going to say, Joe, I think at its closest, Concordia development is about 900 metres from our main street. So so it is really important that we have council staff involved with this development, and that we continue to work on boundary reform to be actively involved in this development, because it's going to be using and part of Gawler really. It may be a suburb of another council, but it's going to be part of Gawler, and people that move there will think they're part of Gawler, but not maybe pay or have anything to do with the actual Gawler area as non-ratepayers. But I'm happy to support the motion.
Yep. Any other comments or questions? Actually, I've got some questions for Andrew. Yeah.
Wording as per resolution 4. So the way I take it now, it says 4, confirm that any key road linkages from Gawler into Concordia focus on the use of Cheek Avenue. Are we happy with that?
Yep. Okay. Now I've got a question. Yep. Now I've got a question. When we look at this is going to be almost the same population of Gawler. when do we start thinking about where the 3 football ovals, the swimming complex and the library go?
As proposed by Plus, there is a work plan to work through existing strategic analysis that's been undertaken, plus also any gaps that may exist. And that would include facilities to be delivered. So I can't be specific as to where they be delivered within Concordia or whether it's 3, 4 or 2 facilities, but that would be a matter which would be further developed as part of the ongoing work of the working group. And we'll report back to council.
Yeah, I suppose just to clarify that that infrastructure will be considered. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'll put that as read. Oh no, do you want to close the debate, Mayor? Okay, okay, all those in favour? Carried. All those against? Against, okay, carried. Yep. What's next? 7.2 Helia Residential Park Proponent Initiated Code Amendment. Now, who would like to speak to this? Yep. Mayor, you want to speak to it?
I'm happy to move
Yep.
the officer's recommendation as is. I think it's mainly a noting recommendation. It's not really an action action recommendation. So I think it speaks for itself. So I won't go into detail. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Jim, would you like to second it? Any comments? No. Any comments from the staff? Chris?
Through the chair, this is a code amendment which has really just been initiated, and we actually got the initiation letter, the start of the process, from the minister on Friday. So we weren't able to include that in the report, but it's a process that will take probably about 4 to 6 months, and there'll be some community consultation which will be undertaken by the proponent with support of council, and will do investigations on infrastructure.
So I just want to clarify, the consultation can start by the proponent after permission from the minister. Is that right?
The Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission. So that's, that's the process.
That's the
Okay.
process.
Just to be clear on that. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from staff? No other comments? Okay. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay. 7.3, 5, 55, 54 Main North Road, Evanston Park Code Amendment. Mayor Redman, you want to again? Okay.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation as is. I'm really, if I can speak to it, Chair.
Yes.
I'm really pleased that there's a land management agreement included in this recommendation, this motion. I think it will cover off on specific uses and restricting certain specific uses, which I think will be important. Also stormwater and associated discharge and traffic management will come under the LMA. So I think that is a really good way forward. And I think this will be quite exciting. So I do note that 0.5, that it is a bit like the previous motion, that the proponent does the public consultation, privately funded code amendments, and I think that's an important point to make. Thank you.
Jim, you want to? Page. Vidulous site. Yeah, it's all the Vidulous, it's the nursery and all the parkland, you know, the green bit out the back. Yeah, Di, you want to speak to it? Yep. Yep.
I'm also happy to see 0.5 there. I think it was Mr. Piccolo at the last meeting when he did public open forum. He was talking about how the local residents weren't happy that they hadn't been notified, when actually it's not really council's position to do it. So I'm really happy that 0.5 is in that.
Yep. So just to clarify that, if the council couldn't do any public consultation, is that right?
Minister wrote to us specifically saying we weren't allowed to. Certainly the legislation doesn't envisage council engagement with the community where it's proponent driven. And they've written best practice guidelines saying the same thing. So councils comply with the legislation and best practice.
Okay, thank you. Just to be clear. Brian, you have some comments?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I hear what you say, Andrew, but the trouble is we're the councillors in this town. The public doesn't know that. The people that actually got in touch and spoke to Councillor Fraser as well as all of us, this sort of thing has to go out to the public in the media. And the best way to do it is some sort of form of advertising. We spend a fortune on the bunyip to keep it running and that sort of stuff. And that information is where we have failed for a long time now, because so many people are saying to me, hey, what's going on with the business? What's happening there? You know, what's happening? We don't know. And if I can just say that needs to go out to the community so they know.
Okay, thank you. You want to comment on that? Yeah.
Only briefly, I hear what you say. The process is, however, that the minister authorises the amendment. It's proponent driven. They ask council for their feedback, which we provided to them. There's an engagement plan process, which is then signed off as part of the minister agreeing to the code amendment proceeding. And the engagement plan is then followed through by the proponent. If we were to do anything other than what we've done, we've been criticised by the minister for basically disobeying his directive.
That's the issue.
What about that being a bit criticised? We get criticised every day. I've just got criticised about Mr. McDonald said about the gravel that's being piled up down here in the railway yards. So what's happening? There will be no more Barossa train, la, 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 la. So then our local politician sends an email back and says, oh, well, he wants to get the facts right. Well, the facts are that's not our land. And I'm telling people that's diptised land. You can spell it whichever way. I've got another way I can spell that word. They are the ones where we, the community, is giving us a hard time because they're not being told. Now, when it comes to the point, as you say, Andrew, the legal things, it's probably to have to watch there, but somehow or other, we need to keep getting the messages out there that we're not making a mistake. We're being told what we've got to do so that the community can understand.
I suppose that's what's in this agenda item, and that's what point 5 is. Yep. Any other comments? Okay, Mayor Rubin, do you want to? Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. This is going pretty quick, isn't it? Be home for hard quiz. Okay, that's good. 7.4, Clonley Reserve Dog Park update. Di, you want to move that?
I'm happy to move that, and it was a good report. The dog park is well used. I tend to agree that we probably we should think about putting one down south, so that more people have got one, and it gives more free time for this one. Or more free area for this one. But yes, it was a good initiative and it works really well.
David, do you want to second it?
Yeah, I'm happy to second it. It is being used really well. Like council actually in Hewitt tried to put a dog park in the area and the residents didn't want it, so they actually stopped it. Like council, I believe, have offered and may have made some payment to the Gawler Council, but yeah, so I think that partnership needs to continue. Is really important, but it is really well used, and yeah, it's incredibly well used. And I think Councillor Samble mentioned before that there's a lot of people from other councils come and use it because it's so good. So I think it's it goes to the standard of things that we do provide in Gawler, which is really quite high standard, which is really great for all the work the staff and everyone else has put into it. So happy to second it, and also comment on the feedback. The amount of feedback with the survey has just been fantastic to get all those responses. with rates, we get 3 or 4. With the dog park, we've got nearly
People love
100 or
dogs.
so. Yeah, and yeah, I think the different methods that Paul's used and the staff have used to try and get feedback has been really effective. So I think that's a testament of getting that. Which is really important because it is something that is so well used. So no, it's going good.
Yeah. Now, Brian, you had some questions originally, so do you want to ask them now? Now we're talking on the subject. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman Paul. I think only on the point of, like, we're not flush with funds at the moment, and I see in here where the council staff will submit a budget bids and that sort of thing for 23-24. It's fantastic part. I've been there, I haven't been eaten, so people feed their dogs before they go there. But what I'm saying is we've never received a report as regards to what it has cost. I have not seen one, and I can say now the retired treasurer, or whatever you call him, and so forth, he's now gone, but he said, no, there's been none. Now, I don't know, if somebody's seen one, well, I wouldn't mind having a look at it. But the thing is, when you have something like that, it costs money, right? It costs money every day, every week, right? In this, which is fantastic, a lot of work being done, but there's nothing in this questionnaire here is where do you reside? Now, I don't know who put that questionnaire together, and as Deputy Mayor said, it's been really done well, but it would have been really nice to know where these people come from, because I know that people come from Angle Vale, and I know that people come from Weaverstown and all these other places around, because it is a fantastic park. It's well maintained and everything, the whole lot. We've got to look at, I mightn't be here in December, but the new council has to look at some ways of curbing back some of this expenditure. Now, I would say that by maintenance, cutting the grasses, all that sort of stuff, and general cleaning up and things that's got to be done, and maintaining what does get damaged from time to time, it would be quite expensive. We've not seen what it costs, and there's no fee to use it, is it?
It's free.
That's right.
Yeah.
Free to another council's ratepayer. Come on, let's get serious.
Maybe we could get some comment.
But certainly, like council Adelaide Plains, don't walk in and say, "Here's $10. I'm going to be here for half an hour with my dog." We're not being real.
Notice for those questions, perhaps.
Paul, did you want to say something?
Well, I'd just like to know about that and why on the questionnaire there wasn't where do you reside. That's really quite easy to write.
I think Paul wants to say. Paul, Cleon, do you want to say something? Got a comment?
Thank you, through the chair.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian, for that question. The way we worked out, to answer the question about some sort of payment for light regional council users, I have an agreement that's been ongoing since conception of this facility. They're paying $12,500 a year to contribute. So how we worked that out is we worked out how many dogs they have within their area. So there is a formula behind how we worked out that sum, which we agreed to, and they're ongoing. Now, the clause that they can get out of this potential contract that's in place currently is if they build their own dog park within that area, then they're absorbed from paying that $12,500. So they've been very, very supportive of this facility going in this place, and they understand a lot of people use it. So as far as the operation goes, we estimated when we first built this being around $27,000 per annum to operate. Now that's come down to around the $21,000 per annum is what we're actually currently paying over the last few years operate. That's staff wages, that's your fertilising, your mowing, your watering, and the surrounding areas. So it is around the $21,000 per annum is what we're paying just on maintenance. That's the total cost. So 12,000 subsidises that 21,000. So it's costing us slightly less than what we expected, but water costs are also going up, so it does fluctuate.
Rogie, you got a quick question?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Mayor Redmond next. Yeah, sorry, Cody.
It cost quite a few $100,000 to build, and I don't think Light Council actually contributed to that cost. So I'm really pleased that they give a few $1,000s to the upkeep, because it is right next to Hewitt, and there are many Hewitt community members, and I would use it if I lived in Hewitt. Has there been any discussion on proposed sites in the southern Gawler area for a future dog park?
Through the chair, the answer is yes. We have been discussing that internally. I'm happy if Jack wants to expand any further on that issue.
Through the chair, we've looked at potentially 3 locations, one being the southern areas, which is in the rural area zone, which is the USA land, in and around Aspire and Alexander Avenue in the back of Trinity, and Springwood. That's the 3 within that. So it's just very, very preliminary at this stage. So we really, and there will be significant consultation involved with any sort of site we decide upon before we actually make that decision.
Cody, you've got a question?
Well, I was going to ask something similar, but I guess when would we be likely to see a report or a budget bid or something come back regarding that?
Through the chair, the animal management plan expires in 2024. So we expect to be potentially looking at a budget bid for 23-24 for a dog park to come back to.
Any other questions? Yep. Okay, we're. Yeah, Karen. Yes, in point 4. Di, do you want to finish? Do you want to speak to it as well? Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. 7.5, Hillier Fire Recovery and Rehabilitation Progress Update 2. Sorry, David.
Thank you. I've got a perceived conflict of interest as an employee of the Northern York Landscape Board that was sort of assisted in this project. And I note the project is only for noting, so I'll be staying in the room and voting.
Okay. Yeah, Paul, click on. You've got a little video, have you? Or a little Oh, doesn't really matter. Stay there if you want. Stay there's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yep. Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, that's better. So yeah, I just wanted to good evening to everybody tonight, and just thank everybody for the opportunity to present such a unique project. It's been a big success. It's been a lot of hard work and effort, I guess, getting the funding, but I just really want to talk about, we've talked about the actual response council did when the fire hit us. And this is really just talking about the aftermath and the recovery and the efforts going into it. So, you know, it was a catastrophic day, firestorm conditions, high winds, high temperatures. It was just a perfect storm, and the fire could have been a lot more devastating outcomes on the day. So I think we were very lucky in really the damage that it done. But I've just got a short video straight after the fires. I actually got on the front foot and engaged just some drone footage of the aftermath about a month or 2 afterwards. So in the video, you can actually see some regrowth coming on some of the trees that affect, but it just gives you a really good understanding for those that may have not have been at the site or seen what had actually happened. So what I was lucky to do with this footage was to actually use this to just put it out there to whoever I could talk to showcase it's just a forgotten fire. There's lots of fires around this time. This is a forgotten fire that no one talked about. So I had to fight hammer and tong to really get this on the radar through all the emergency management. teams that I'm part of the, I guess the committees, and whoever I could show it to, I did, and got some traction. Luckily enough, we were successful with some funding for the Gawler River. We got this $9 million project that this was project number 1. So we certainly got some kudos, a lot of hard work and effort. It doesn't quite fit the bill for the disaster resilience funding opportunities. It doesn't fit any criteria in that. Now, this will happen again for other councils, so I'm hoping to showcase this as an opportunity to change the rules around disaster resilience, because this is not a project, this is not a fund that council have to fund such a a large project like this. And as I reported, we're under budget, thank goodness, and still a $400,000 project as such. So if you'd like to play the video, we'll just go through this.
Is that the cricket oval next door?
Yes. So we lost a lot of trees, fencing, but quite some of them. And the neighbour's property was very lucky to still be there. So I headed straight through here, as you can see through the paddocks, straight towards the river. And you'll see a burnt out dwelling that got hit. Basically, you can't see in between the trees there's where fallen logs have fallen into the river as such. Potentially caused some log jam. So you can see some of those in there. Some of them are over 300 years old, quite large. So, logs in there. So on the southern side of the river, council's responsible for about 40 metres in from the edge of the river itself at the centre of the river. Now the other side is within Light Regional Council. This is where the fire ends here. As you can see, it's just over a kilometre long. Now some of the issues we had at CFS after the bath, they were cutting the trees for safety. They actually cut them back into the river, which caused more problems. So the trees there, just cut. So yeah, so Light Regional Council from day one part of the project, but the problem Light Regional Council had, yes, it's on their side, but all the land is owned. So there was no contribution from the council, unfortunately, to this project. The big concern is the ongoing weed management, also treated by Light Regional Council or the owners of the network there. We need to try and see some of the weed growth in some of the trees in that shop there. It looks completely different as we've seen in the presentation. I just thought this was great to show just the actual, a couple of months after the fire, but the actual extent which a lot of people just weren't essentially, take it down into, say, take out all the infrastructure, beaver dam into the Playford area, and then there's potential flooding. And then it comes back to council saying, well, why didn't we do anything? So really pleased that, you know, we had an opportunity to find some funding. Now, council did contribute $90,000 also, which was fantastic. That money's been used with the regeneration and planting and maintenance, ongoing maintenance, weed management. So very pleasing outcome. So I do have a presentation quickly to run through as well. So happy to run through this. Thank you. So yeah, this is just basically gave an outline of this is off the CFS website when the fire occurred. Just gave you a bit of a demographic of the actual fire scar itself. And as I said, Carbeetham was also impacted in that corner there. So you can see the fire scar itself. So it was you know, quite a large area with 68 hectares. And the legs, you know, 1.34 kilometres just in the creek itself, that was impacted. So it could have been a lot worse, as I said, and had some facilities damaged also, private facilities, fencing. I don't think we lost any stock from memory. I don't think we did. So really the project scope, once we're successful with the funding, this is really what we concentrated on. The weed management, we had to hit that hard because straight after the fire, everything just generated and was completely out of control. So for us to go in with our arborist to go in and check the standing trees for safety was really important, that we could do some clearing of the vegetation so we can actually go in and do a proper assessment on those standing trees. Now that's on both Light Regional side of the river and ours, so the funding covered both sides of the river, so the fair bit of work that was undertaken there. So obviously the tree debris removal was the critical part. Now you'll see in some of my slides and some photos, we were very specific on only pruning some of the trees that were damaged without removing them. So we only ended up removing around 10, and then there was a lot that were trimmed back to still keep for I guess the livestock and so well, just, you know, generally well, habitat, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you very much. So yeah, so that was a really good outcome there, and I'll show some of the photos as we slide through that. Now the riverbank also, there's a lot of scouring that was previous and also caused as part of the fire. So where the some of the trees that actually burnt out, some of them burnt out 6 meters into the bank of the river. It was just incredible. Like it just kept going. So they burnt for months and months afterwards. And we're left with a compromised riverbank that was also filled with rock and engineered to suffice when we do get a major flood through there, that we don't lose that bank and cause us a greater erosion problem. And obviously geofabric in all those areas as well. So we might just, and you'll see the stage 2 is revegetation. So we actually planted 4,000 tube stock, which is fantastic. And then there's ongoing revegetation, which I'll be undertaking annually. So that would majority fit within our operational budget now. So we'll continue to protect the banks that were burnt out and the trees are removed and the woody weeds are gone. We'll actually keep that project going to revegetate that site to reduce a lot of our weed management ongoing. So these are the stakeholders. I won't need to go through all of them, but a fantastic effort by all. The 2 winning contracts were Mechanical Vegetation Solutions, who did the heavy work and the civil works, and LCS also won part 2 of the contract, who are revegetating and maintaining and doing some woody weed forest control ongoing. So it's been fantastic. We've had some, obviously, getting into this site, we're sort of landlocked to get to this area, so we have to get permission each time we go in and do our mowing and maintenance along that corridor. We have to then contact the landowner, so they were fantastic through this project. where we had water carts and that running, so they weren't impacted by dust. So it was really well managed by the contractors. So really pleasing. So you can see a lot of the key people involved with the project. As I spoke about the landowner, this is the road in. So we did a dilapidation report prior and negotiated with the residents in there, just kept in contact throughout the whole process. We also did part of the dilapidation repairs. We actually resheeted a skin of rubble over the top of that. Access into their property to where we'd run our trucks and heavy machines. So it was a great outcome, and the owners were quite pleased with that, and that was built into the tender as well. So as I mentioned, woody weeds, the weed management control. So we actually have developed a plan which was covered under this tender as well. So we now have a management plan ongoing for controlling weeds in that area. So really important that we can continue to fund that, to keep that up. If we drop the ball here, it's going to go back to the way it was. So it's really a conservative effort in to keep this under control and utilise this management plan to be able to continue that good work we've done there. So thanks. So as you can see, these are some of the trees I was talking about before, where we managed to prune them and still leave those up for habitat, and they weren't a risk to the contractors who were in the bottom of the creek running machines of falling on them or giving them essentially some problems or potential fatality. So it was very well mitigated before anyone went into the river. The biggest risk I found on the project, obviously, we were sweating. It was about a lot of sleepless nights, was rain. We had any major downpours, this project just gets shut down. So the timing of it was just, we couldn't have asked for better weather throughout the whole project while we were doing the construction of the river. Where we got some trouble was the recent rains where we've been planting and hydroseeding. We've got a whole area, we've got a hydroseed. Now that was just completed today. It's the only time we get the trucks over 15 tonne. We just could not get it in there through these tracks to actually hydroseed. So LCS advised me today that they've actually completed that. So we're pretty much 100% completed with this project now. So outstanding. And you can see that the 32 trees I mentioned before were ones that were pruned back for safety. Thank you. These are just some of the tree stumps I mentioned before that just keep burning underground. That does have an impact on the banks. Thanks. Now there's two access points that we chose to go into the river itself. So as you can see there, the number 2, there was a massive washout there. That's why we chose this section. This has been eaten out by yetis as such over time, and it was just the ideal location for entering their vehicles to clean the river out. So we've now engineered with the design that we've now reinstated both of those access tracks, and we've planted them up. There's a bit of hydroseeding that's happened on the very first picture you can see on the left. So that track's actually been hydroseeded, and we've planted up the second entrance like the food forest did. We helped with food forest many years ago. Some might remember that. With some geofab down the bank and reinstated. That looks amazing now. So we use that same technology that worked there for this project. So really great outcome. Thanks. Just a couple of photos of here's some heavy machinery. You know, some of the size of the timbers they were cutting by hand, as you can see, the operator down the bottom, contractors, and this was just lined with timber all the way along that full length. Thanks. This is one of the sites. This is site 2, where you can see in the right-hand corner, that's the yeti I was talking about, where it actually washed out. This is access point 2. So this is why we chose to go in there, and we actually reinstated out and rock lined it. So that's actually now taken out any further risk of erosion there. So a really good outcome. So why we chose that particular site there. Now this tree, as you can see the size of this stump, we managed to key this into, this is Light Regional Council side. Right behind that, this is access point 2. that's actually been washed out above that. So we actually keyed that into the bank, buried it in there with also rock lining on both sides. And as you'll see in the next photo or two, you'll see just a massive log that's keyed in there to protect some erosion. So we didn't take all the logs out. This one here is not going to move in a major flood at all. It took 2 cranes to actually move that to shift it in position. So that was a really good outcome. You can see the rock lining on the right-hand side. The actual log is behind that. But you'll see next photo. That's it now with water. Water has just come after we've finished the project, so we're lucky. It's keyed in there beautifully. So this is what it essentially looks like now with water running. So as I said, the timing was just, we couldn't have picked it better because it would have shut the project down completely for another 12 months, which then would have impacted the funding arrangement. Thanks. And obviously did some sediment control ready for the first rain. So we did certain key points where we put these hay bales in. That was very successful. And you can see the rock line down the bottom there. So it's not going to shift. This is a tree stump. So you see on the left, this is what I'm talking about, where it just keeps going down and down. So that one actually measures around the 5 metre mark. So we've actually placed rock up to 600 mil to fill that and support the bank. So some areas where we've got location, we're actually going to plant trees on top of that, essentially, so to regrowth in some areas where we can do that. So it's just a bit of just some of the things we come across, but to see that, you had to clear a lot of the, you can see there's no weeds, no major weeds, massive weeds that were there prior, so we've cleaned it out completely. Thanks. And that's just on the left, a bit of example of some scouring, ongoing scouring. So this is the areas we're looking to plant up the next stage moving forward. Thanks. And obviously native veg was very key to this project. How the guys got around in those massive machines, this is after we've cleaned it out, how they've managed to do that without disturbing the bank or the native vegetation that was identified throughout this project. Just incredible, fantastic operators, and absolutely tickled pink of how they've managed to go about their business professionally without, they could have got rid of all the native veg in that project, but we're really, really keen to keep that in places where we could. So, and that's more keying in of some of the larger rock we see tipped off there, and how they managed to manoeuvre it around. So, and some geofab. So this is some of the timber. This is the outcome, which I think on one of the attachments was really an update of the project. We've got another one coming out soon. Now we've completed it, so we'll work with Northern New with releasing that one very soon. But 300 tonnes essentially come out. Now they had weight, they had weighs on their truck, so they managed to weigh all this for us. So pretty accurate figures. There's 246 tonne of material for firewood. Now, the contract that we awarded was, the contract included that the timber was the care and control of the actual contractor to do with it. What he offered then was a lower cost in transport. This is why his tender was way down in price compared to others. So he was successful in that by quite a long way. We wouldn't have been able to do that project if that didn't come in that low. So they actually not only donated some timber themselves to Department of Environment and Water for play space, landscape spaces at Glenthorpe Park. I think I've got an attachment on the report as well. Some of the locals ended up with some firewood. There was quite a few tonne that went to the resident that were using their access track as well, that they must have negotiated a bit of a deal there. The rest was processed for sale for them themselves. And you'll see all the mulch on that bottom corner. There's 45 tonnes of mulch. That was a bit of a blend of woody weed and the like. That's gone to the food forest. So they were very keen to utilise that in time. So they'll just let it sterilise in their property for a period of a couple of years, and they'll reuse that as well. So a lot of good local good news stories there as such. Thank you. So just some more realignments there with some just stabilising the bank with some heavy rock. And that'll all be hydroseeded as well. So this is the bank we're talking about, similar to the food forest. So this is access point 2. So now it's being planted up, geofabbed and keyed in with a lot of that larger rock. So it's actually turned out fantastic. So this is what will be ongoing maintenance will be undertaken now to make sure they establish over the next couple of years.
Paul, just quickly, while there, what sort of plants are there, those?
I do have a species list as a raft of different types, Paula. I'm happy to send that
Yeah,
around.
that'd be nice, yep.
Yeah, of the tree species. Yep. And ground covers.
Yep.
And this is what you can see how clear it is there. Now, the photos I've shown before is just full of timber. This is what it's actually looking like now. So you see the bank re-establishments we've done on the right-hand side, but you can see the water flowing freely. It couldn't have worked out better. This is good timing. Thanks. That was 18th of August we took that photo. And some more scour protection. These we managed to include in the project, but were scouring prior to the fire. So we were sort of a bit cheeky there, I guess. Thanks. Yep. And you can see a bit of a waterfall there. It's actually a beautiful site now. So that's one of the access tracks. It's starting to grass up where I'm standing. So you can see that's going back to where it was before. We did some scour protection down there prior to the rains coming, and it's just working really, really well. So it's flowing as it should. So it's a really nice spot down in there. Thanks. Yep. So pretty much the last slide. This is really where the funding is at the moment. We obtained 440,000. Council contributed 90, and the cost so far is 486,500, with a few outstanding invoices coming in, but that's around the mark. Now the steering committee, which I report to regularly on this project, we actually went in and said, well, listen, I've saved this amount of money. I want it back to be able to continue this great work. Now they were successful. They said this is the only shovel-ready project that's actually gained any traction out of the 4 projects. So kudos to us and council. But they also said, well, as a reward, they straight away went, no worries. So I'm expecting another $30,000 to come to council to continue this great work and maintenance. So we're not out of pocket. So I fought for that pretty hard. I'm just waiting for an email from Treasury to say, here it is. So that's just around the corner. So absolutely wrapped with how it's come about, and happy to share it with certainly with council, just to hopefully help other councils in the future to not have so many hurdles to find some funding to undertake this type of work. That's me.
That's great. Yes, I just want to comment that this at GRMFA, this was commented at GRMFA, how it's such a great project and how great collaboration between a council and the state government when it comes to managing the river. So it's well done. Yeah. And they said they actually said they wish more councils were as cooperative as us. So that's even better.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. It's very good. Yep. Any other questions for Paul? Yep. Oh, okay. No other questions? Nobody wants to comment? Cody, you want to?
Just like to say, excellent report, one of the best we've heard for a long while. A number of people mentioned to me about work and how it was done and how it was processed along with staff and so forth. And it's fantastic. And Paul's report here tonight is one that we can all hang our hat on.
Cody, you've got a comment?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I'll second it since it's already going. But yeah, I did have a question. Is there any, I guess, structural change needed in regards to the actual preventing fires in the future, or from preventing them from spreading the whole way, etc.?
Probably a question that's it's going to be very difficult to answer. As far as council goes, we have a maintenance program where we do our fire prevention annually. So we are what like regional councils do, and then on the opposite side to what then the privately owned land within our area is undertaking themselves is probably a little bit out of council's realm. But what we can be assured ourselves is that we are doing all the fire prevention works as we currently speak. Now, this year's been absolutely extraordinary, so hats off to my team. We're just absolutely flat out trying to undertake that. Plus also now we're getting a massive amount of CRMs regarding road verges because they're going out of control. So I've actually got teams that are now putting letters in letterboxes at the moment, giving an opportunity to cut them down. Otherwise, we're going to have to then up our service level to go in and make the town tidy again, because we all know it's not looking great. It's just an extraordinary year, but I can say my 14 staff are flat out trying to keep up with it as we speak. So fire prevention is definitely high on our priority, with not just the river, everywhere with those hot spots.
John? Yeah.
Paul, I think you and your staff need huge thank you from council, not only for this work, but on the day itself. It was an absolutely disastrous day. And your guys, I know some of them were called in from holidays to help because they were already on Christmas leave, and they just did an extraordinary job. So well done to everybody.
Karen? Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo Councillor Fraser's comments. There was a fire on York Peninsula, southeast, Adelaide Hills, and I think Kangaroo Island all at the same time. So it was an extraordinary day. All emergency services were stretched to the limit, and I think our council and the staff stood tall to not only evacuate the Hillier Park residents, which council did, but also just stop people from going into the fire ground because people were wanting to get into their homes, etc. And I know that that was quite challenging for many council staff members. So yeah, I think a thank you is absolutely warranted. Fantastic work, really good money that came in, really good biodiversity management. They are important corridors and they are quite beautiful in their own right. So I think you've made them even more beautiful, Paul, and your team. So yeah, I think it's a really good acknowledgement and thank you.
I've got one question for Paul. I think there was a budget bid for to trial an articulated flail. Is that right? Are you using that this season? Are you going to, considering the amount of growth at the moment, are you trialling that at the moment?
I believe that's below the line. That
was below the line.
Yeah, that didn't make.
Okay, sorry. Yep,
we have been talking about it, Paul, but I think the machines we have at the moment is actually doing the job, and there'll be limited use of the flail motors and attaching it to our tractor. Well, then it's almost a permanent fitting, which means then we can't put our slasher on, so we'll have to buy another bit of plant. $70,000 tractor to be able to put that on. So it's probably not something we really highly think we need at this particular time.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, where we're up to. So it's moved, been seconded. Any other comments? Okay, if not, Brian, do you want to finish? You happy? Yep. Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour? Okay, carried unanimously. Fantastic. Now, information reports. We've got the Environmental Health Services report. Jack, do you want to comment on this? Make some comments?
Through the chair, as part of our annual reporting to SA Health, we're required to provide statistics on what we do for the year back to SA Health. That eventually makes its way into the report to the Minister, and the report in front of the Council or the elected members this evening in this committee is just basically a summary of some of the work that's been conducted by the Environmental Health team over the financial period for 21-22. And sort of outlines a little bit of the issues that we've dealt with through COVID compliance and some of the work that we've conducted as a result of our service agreements with the Minister and SA Health under Public Health Act and the Food Act, along with support residential facilities. That's a number of other legislation that we work under.
Any questions? happy to move that, Karen? Do you want to?
Just briefly, yes, thank you to the staff, 1.7 FTEs, worked very hard. If you can see the graphs, the food premises, the food inspections, public pool inspections, the wastewater inspections, wastewater approvals, hair, beauty, tattoo, health complaints and food complaints and other inspections. They do really work very hard. COVID assessments from SA Health, 126, excessive vegetation, long grass, 270. It just goes on and on and on, the immunisation service, etc. So all really important work to keep our community safe, and it fits in with our public health and wellbeing plan. So Jack Darzanos and your team, thank you for all the work that you do to keep us safe. Thank you.
Would someone like to second that? Di, yep, you want to speak to that? Okay, any comments? David, do you want to comment? No, actually I've got one question on page 55 of 61. It talks about Legionella investigations. Can you just explain something about that? Because that's quite serious, Legionnaire's disease. So.
Through the chair, the Legionella investigations are when we are notified that there's been a case of Legionella in our council area. And again, it is quite a serious disease. These particular investigations were undertaken in residential village for the elderly, which makes it even more of an issue. And it's usually tracked back to warm water systems for showers and hand washing and things like that.
So it's not air conditioning systems, it's more hand washing.
More warm water, correct. Absolutely, yes.
And is that a reportable disease?
It is, it's a communicable disease and it's reported to us.
Okay, and we've had 6 in a year.
6 in a year.
Wow. Yes. I was surprised when I read it. Yeah, I just want to clarify. Any other comments? Okay, if not, happy to, yep, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Well done, Joe. Okay. We're up to items listed for discussion. Nothing. Items listed for discussion at future meetings. Nothing. Questions without notice. Cody, you got a question?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple. First one about what I mentioned before, the soil testing. I'm just wondering when that's coming back.
Okay, who's going to answer that? Jack, go for it.
Through the chair, I've been in touch with the consultants that we've used for the drilling and the testing of the site. I've been advised that we will hopefully have a preliminary report back this Friday, so not too far away.
Another question? Yep.
Yeah, so the other question is about this entrance to Oleana Waters. I've sort of been getting some feedback about, the reeds, there's a lot of dead reeds and that haven't been maintained for a long time, and they complain to Divine and Divine says, oh, no, council deals with it now, and apparently not, so if we could get some clarification.
Wendy, you got it? Yep, go for it.
Okay, so through the chair, so the ornamental lakes and Oleana Waters, they are on council-owned land. Now, since they were developed, the maintenance has been the responsibility of the developer, and that is part of a public realm agreement. Now, the time frame that was set within this public realm agreement was that they were to maintain the lakes for 5 years or until the ASR scheme was operational. Now, though that phrase is probably where there becomes a bit of room for interpretation. The ASR scheme, so the recycled water scheme, has had to be delayed for an unknown amount of time, given the rate of growth in that area hasn't been as fast as what we were predicting it to be. But notwithstanding that, Divine have continued to maintain the lakes. Now, there's been ongoing complaints and CRMs raised about Oleana Waters in 2021. It really did ramp up quite a bit. And council staff have continued to liaise with Divine to try and get them to maintain them to satisfactory level. In May this year, we had a meeting with Divine, just shortly before Sam left, to try and resolve how we were actually going to hand these lakes and the maintenance of the lakes back over to council so that we can maintain them in a satisfactory condition. Of course, to protect council's interest, we want to ensure that we have got all the correct information, all the manuals, all the understanding of what the state and condition and of all the assets associated with those lakes are. And we would also like to have them handed over in a state that we deem to be appropriate, i.e. we would like to have an extent of the reeds brought under control. So in May, we had a big meeting with Divine and came up with a raft of things that Divine were to provide to us. There was a site meeting after that office-based meeting where again, there were further agreed information that Divine would provide to council. So since May, we have been seeking this information from Divine. I can delightedly say that on Monday, yesterday, we actually finally got a big USB with all the information. However, that did come with some caveats that they haven't been able to pull together some of the information we've requested. So it's now on us to review that information and see whether we're satisfied with what information they have been able to provide. And we are going to go back, pending our acceptance of that information and pending our acceptance of an agreement of what level of reed maintenance they will undertake prior to handover or prior to an agreed time frame. Council will then accept final completion of the lakes and take over the maintenance. I just need to acknowledge that both parties do agree that there are some outstanding actions still, and that we don't expect that every action will be complete when we accept the lakes for maintenance. However, we'll be giving them final completion on the basis that they will meet the agreed set of outstanding works within an agreed time frame. Now, what those are, what that time frame is, that's all yet to be determined, but we are in the depth of trying to resolve this. And I'm looking forward to being able to say that we have, and that the reeds have been tidied up beforehand.
Right. David, you got some comments? I've got some comments in a second.
Yeah, I remember when this first came up to council and we actually stipulated that there had to be an extended handover because councillors and council, we were very concerned about the ongoing maintenance and cost. And we actually wanted it to be a fully functioning system. So it was actually going to be maintained and the water would be clean and don't become stale and everything else. So that's why we wanted the ASR scheme to actually be working, and which we were promised that it all would be happening, which those works haven't happened. So yeah, it is a huge concern because it can be a humongous maintenance cost for council if we take this on. There's pumps, there's all sorts of infrastructure that as a council, we weren't prepared to take that on until everything was working correctly and being maintained and set up. And so we did extend that whole maintenance period and that handover and stipulated quite strongly that we wanted everything ship-shape before handover to us. We knew that at some stage it would come over to council, but it needed to be working as a proper system, and I'm not sure whether that's actually happened yet. So I'd be disappointed if we did accept it when it's not fully functioning as it should.
I just want to make a quick comment. I clearly remember the developers coming into council and telling us that they were going to put this system in place and it would cost us the same amount of money as a piece of lawn. And I said to them, what about the crop factor, which means the different evaporation rates from a lawn to a piece of standing water? And they looked at me blankly. I mean, I'm astonished that, that we agreed to something and, that they would put a functioning system in, and I'd be very concerned if there's no functioning system and they're trying to handball us over something that is going to cost us a lot of money. Yep, Mayor.
I just want to clarify, Wendy, are you saying that council is about to take it over without the ASR scheme?
So through the chair, the ASR scheme is many years away. It's dependent upon 2 releases of renewal SA land, which from our discussions with the new SA are not on the short-term horizon to be released. So the volumes of runoff that are required to make it a viable ASR scheme are not available in the short term. So there is no ASR scheme going in there anytime soon. The operation of the lakes can be done without an ASR scheme. It requires management of the water through other means. But that is possible, and that's how Divine have been operating them since they were installed.
Yeah, let's.
The answer is yes, you're going to accept the maintenance of those lakes without an ASR scheme. Is that the answer?
Yes, that is correct, because at the end of the day, it isn't the developer's fault that the ASR scheme isn't viable. They are one player in a much bigger arrangement of water sources that are required to make that ASR scheme viable. And I think that's, I mean, again, this is way pre me being part of council, but the 5 years or ASR scheme being operational.
It's not.
So the original intent of council was not to take that on until the ASR scheme. We can't help the economics of the region, but now we're going to take it on and we're just going to cover the cost. How much will it cost?
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, so I'll have to take that on notice. I'll take that one on notice.
Oh, you could. Oh. I've got a comment in a minute.
Is Divine, was that SA renewal land, Divine, or not? It was, yeah. So when Divine was developed, the government knew when they, well, they thought they knew when they're going to release other land, and now they're not. So, you know, yeah, I just, yeah, why should we take it on?
Yeah. Look, I clearly remember them coming in and talking this up, that this was their point of difference between all the other developments, and they were desperate to have this water feature because they were Oleander waters, and they spruiked it, and they promised us that we're going to have this system and it was going to cost us as much as running a piece of lawn. Well, that's not right. And now they're trying to handball us on something that's a bit of a, you know, half an effort. I mean, I wouldn't be voting for it, that's for sure. Right.
Thank you, Chair Paul. Well, firstly, I want to say to Ms Young, look, that was the best report I've ever heard about this matter, and as has been discussed, there's nothing much being said about this. We thought it was all going to be fixed, but the people that have complained to me and to Councillor Davies, they don't know that. And why I'm going on about this business about what you've explained to us and what we know is going on, the people that complain to us as elected members, they don't know. So maybe we need to, instead of printing 1,000 flyers on a youth project or something, we maybe just deliver a flyer into everybody's letterbox over there to Lena Waters, so that Councillor Davies and I don't get anybody bailing us up saying what in the hell was going on. And sadly, we're not letting the community know that, I mean, again, this is a thing that's really outside our hands. Well, it sounds like it might be inside our hands now, but that's one of those things. But thanks for explaining it. That's the clearest I've ever heard it. Number 2 is the waterworks yard opposite St. John's down here. I mean, you could say it looks like a pug hole. Has anybody got any ideas? Do we own it, or
No.
we don't own it? End of topic then. The old BMX track down next to Meals on Wheels, it's getting very much used now because there is a friction group of young kids that don't want to be in the very professional where we're going to hold the state titles, I believe it is, Paul.
Next weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So do we maintain that? Is it a bit of a risk to us at all that people can just ride there? I suppose they can ride anywhere along the river, but I just wonder if there's Paul or somebody can answer what's the story on that, the old BMX track.
Can we just get back to the Oleander Waters? Has anyone had any more comments about that first, Brian? Because I think that's probably best to do, finish that off before we start talking about the waterworks and the BMX track. Di, did you have a question about? Jim, is this to do for Oleander Waters? Yes, let's deal with that first. Yep. There we go.
Hello.
Yes.
If we take it on, this might be a question to Wendy.
Yeah.
If we take it on, I think it's, I've had a lot of complaints about it. People got pools, they have to put fences up. There's no fence around it. To me, it's dangerous. I go past it all the time. I have land in Cutler. Do we have the right to get rid of it and put lawn or make it safe and make it nice and greenery and that's it? Because it's nice if it's maintained, but if it's not maintained, I think it's going to be a cost burden to the council and the community. And you can make a really nice greenery out of it. Have we got the right to do that?
Yeah, if you want. Okay, Wendy, do you want to comment? Yeah.
I'll take that on notice to give you the formal answer. My understanding is that yes, we would have the ability to make changes to the entrance to that development, given it is on our land. I believe that those options need to be presented to council along with all the other information about what is going on in this particular location. That's the conclusion I've come to, that a report back to council on this matter with responses to all these conversations that have just taken place, so that it's an informed choices can be made by council to guide the future will be the best way forward.
Yeah. Diane, Diane had the next question, I think. Then
I have to remember what I was going to say.
Diane had a question, do you remember it now?
It was to Councillor Sandel. When we have these information sort of bits in council, as an elected member, it's up to us to remember what we're told so that when the public do ring us, we can inform them on what's happening, because we are limited on how we can get information out there to the public, but we are here as spokespeople, and when they ring us, we should be able to tell them what's happening.
Yep. Karen, so back to you. Yep.
My view would be once you put a lake in, you can't take it away. That's crazy. Yeah, there'd be a huge uproar. You know, you buy into a development, you've got a beautiful lake with a beautiful sculpture, and all of a sudden council comes in and takes it all away because, you know, it's all too expensive. The original plan and council gave a direction that the ASR was to be functional before we took it on. So I think, frankly, we should be sticking to that. Yeah, I think that the developer should do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The developers said that's what they're going to do, and it's their marketing plan, and they've got to come to the party and do it. But, yeah. Paul, did you want to say something, or did you? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So okay, you got a question? Any more comments on Oleander Waters before we move on to the waterworks and the BMX track? No. Okay, Brian, did you want to just repeat those questions? Because I think you have those two questions about the waterworks and the BMX, and maybe someone can comment on them.
Sorry, I just wondered who owns it, because if you haven't been past lately, it looks like a pothole, you know, and it could be a great place for the Gawler Clark Club to build, but we won't go into that. And but I just wonder who owns it. But I think Councillor Fraser said no, we don't own it. So
is that the one at the end of Ayres Road?
Sorry. Oh, you said. Oh, sorry. Sure. opposite St John's Centre.
Oh, you know, that council owns that bit of land.
Well, who's allowing them to put all the rubbish on it?
The contractors put the rubbish on it when they're doing.
Where's the
work.
contractor? Where's the contractors working?
Oh, doing the council works, isn't it, that they?
What? Council wouldn't leave stuff lying around like that.
No,
Come
no,
on.
contractors use it, don't they? When did you want to?
Oh, if it's our land, what do they do? I mean, no, sorry, forget about it. Go for a drive tomorrow and then say, oh, no, now I know what Sambo's talking about. You know, I mean, it's a puck hole. It looks terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And RV friendlies could park there tomorrow. Another topic.
Is it just muddy? When did you want to say something? Give me a hand.
So just so through the chair, so this is the area directly opposite the ambulance station. Yeah, where it's a old gravel. Yeah, so that is an area that we as council staff will agree with contractors to use as a laydown site for many of our works. I'm not aware that that is being currently used as a laydown site. So if there is material there, I will take that on notice to go and find out who is utilising it, because it's certainly not a public area for using for storage of materials. No.
Yes. Now, Brian, you had another question about the old BMX track? Yeah.
Yeah, just the old BMX track, that's all. You know, it's, did anybody give me an answer on that? It's just that the ladies at the Meals on Wheel the other day, I sneaked in for a sandwich, and they said, you know, they've seen a couple of accidents and things like that. Does council patrol the park? I said, no, it's you can ride a bike anywhere along the river, but it's still a BMX track. You know what I mean? And certainly, Paul, you would know that I know there's a group of people that are now regularly using it because they don't want to be involved in your club.
The bike club. I mean,
No, the professional one.
Yeah.
And this happens, but what happens if there's an accident or whatever, or is it just used with care?
Anybody like to respond to that? Paul, you want a quick response? No, but
Through the chair, thank you, Brian. My team, we treat that as a playground or a play facility. So we do our regular inspections, safety inspections. We have a maintenance program where we weed spray, we do, you know, whipper snipping and mowing around that area. As far as compliance go, we certainly don't have anyone manning that. It's really just a facility that it's like a playground. It's you know, user beware, I guess. It's got high risks. I'm glad that you said people are using it, which is fantastic to hear. That's the intent of all our open spaces. So we really treat that as far as a playground as such, with high regard to ensure we do our regular inspections and record that. So I haven't heard any hazards personally or any issues for, I don't know, 2-3 years of that space. So I'm just pleased to hear that people are using it.
Paul, and to Paul, I've been approached by 3 different people now, probably because land in Gawler is in high demand. Here we go again, down the main North Road, heading, the race course is on your right. On your left is the biggest car dealer in South Australia, Steinborner. And then there's a triangle bit of area there. And they said, is it for sale? So, and I said, well, that's nothing to do with me. You'll need to go and see the council. The council owns the land. I know because one other time, Mr. Steinborner offered to buy the land and it was discussed, but nothing happened. I'm just wondering, you know, what the future thoughts are, maybe, or Andrew probably hadn't had a chance to look at it yet, but.
Stormwater, isn't it? It's a stormwater retention catchment. Yeah, okay. No. Yep. Yeah, it does flood. Yeah. Any other questions? I've got a question probably to the acting CEO about Aspire. Were there any updates on the issues at Aspire?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things for the councillors, information and for the general public. 2 matters I'll bring to your attention. I'll deal with the matter of the childcare centre at Aspire first, which, as you're aware, was in the Environment Resource and Development Court, and that was last month. So that matter has been determined, and council won that case, and it was refused. So for your information, the applicant has the right to take the matter further, but we're not aware whether they have at this point in time. So I was only aware of this on Monday, so that's information on that. And related to that is the 8 residential lots, and council has processed that application and has been given clearance issued.
Okay.
The landowners will be advised in writing.
So they can start building.
Well, once the titles are formally issued,
Okay.
which goes through the Land Titles Office,
Yep, yep.
council's role is complete, but
Okay.
there is a few steps to go through still.
Are those steps just administrative? or decision-making?
Effectively, yeah, there's transfer of allotment ownership, registration through the LTO. So that will take as long as it takes for LTO to process.
But it's an administrative.
Yes,
step. Okay,
correct.
Yeah, so there's no more hurdles as such.
Not really, no.
No, just administrative. Okay, good news for the landowners. Any other questions? It's been good banter. Any motions without notice? Okay, if there's not, I will close the meeting. Next meeting will be whenever. To be confirmed. Yes, yeah. Probably, yeah. So whoever will be